with the movie. So
at the end of this movie, I looked over to you
Mhm.
and I couldn't like see your face.
Mhm.
And so I was like, are you crying? And you go, no, I'm mad. Welcome to Black Cat. I'm Tony. That's Samra. And it's almost the end of February.
which is crazy.
And we've made the most of it because we have seen a ton of romantic movies during this month. And we're going to talk about two of them today. I wanted to quickly shout out some of the other ones that we saw because we very well could have done reviews on all of these movies. I think we kicked it off by seeing Titanic, a classic movie that I saw for the first time ever. Don't know why it took me so long. But I finally saw it. We saw it in theaters, and it's incredible.
He hated it. No.
It was incredible. 5 stars. One of the best movies I've ever seen. You guys know Titanic by now. The only thing that I'll say quickly on Titanic is weirdly misunderstood movie because, all I had heard are all the misconceptions about, different things about Rose and this and that. And it's like,
that damn door.
The door at the end. I'm sure everyone knows what happens at the end of Titanic. I don't want to spoil it just in case there's anyone like me out there, but it does not go down the way that a lot of people say it does. Rose is overhated, in my opinion.
Oh, so overhated. She deserved better in all sense of the word. But yeah.
So we started with Titanic. Mm-hmm. We saw Dracula, which we're going to talk about today. We saw Wuthering Heights, which we're going to compare to Dracula today. But we also saw a good movie in Roman Holiday because... you probably read the title of this video. Neither Dracula or Wuthering Heights are very good. Now, Samra liked Dracula a little bit more than I did.
I have thoughts, which we'll get into.
We'll get into it. It's a fun movie, unlike Wuthering Heights. And we're also going to see Call Me By Your Name next week.
And we both have seen that one already. We love it so much. Can't wait to see it in theaters. It's gonna be a good time. So it's
gonna be, and it's February. It's the month of love, so we've been watching a bunch. We also saw Jason X.
Oh, that was my favorite romantic movie of the month.
There's a romantic scene with the professor and one of his students.
Oh my gosh!
Maybe
so beautiful. It was so moving. I loved it so much.
Might be the best movie we've seen this month. Other than Titanic. But yeah, so we're going to get into this now. Like I said, we're going to compare Dracula to Wuthering Heights. Basically, we just want to package both these movies together because they're both romantic movies. We saw them back-to-back weeks pretty much. And, I just think it'll be fun to do it that way. So which movie do you want to start with? Do you have a preference for where we start?
I think let's start with Dracula. That's my preference.
Okay, we're going to start with Dracula. And I'm going to let you talk about, just kind of I had heard about this movie for a full year before it was released in the United States because this is a French film. It's Dracula 2026, if you aren't aware of it. I feel like this went under the radar a little bit. People didn't even realize that a new Dracula movie was coming out. Samra was aware that a new Dracula movie was coming out.
And if you are on the same side of Instagram as me, you're probably going to know what I'm talking about. So this was back, I want to say, in the fall, maybe October-ish. I stumbled upon a reel of a scene, which at the time I didn't know it was a scene from Dracula, but it was a scene, the specific scene where Caleb Landry Jones, who plays Dracula, sees Mina walking into the ballroom, and it is set to Enya's classic Caribbean Blue, which is a beautiful, beautiful song. And I saw it and I didn't know what was going on, but it kind of piqued my interest. It was intriguing. But the thing is, I didn't see that reel just once. No. I saw it, I want to say like maybe close to 100 times. I'm not even kidding. And it was different accounts posting it. I don't know if it was a marketing technique. If it was, I'm going to say it was very smart because I saw a lot of people talking about it. And then I talked to you about it. So, yeah.
I had heard all about this movie. Caleb Landry Jones, also known as the lacrosse player from Get Out.
Yes.
So I want to start very quickly just by explaining what this movie is, because I know, again, this might have gone under the radar. I won't spoil anything here. I'll just give a vague synopsis of the plot. Basically, this is a romantic take on Dracula, right? Which there's various different interpretations of this story. It's a classic story. There's a million different ways you can go. We just saw kind of the spin-off version of this story in Nosferatu last year, which it's very strange to me that you would make two Dracula movies in back-to-back years, but they are very, very different takes on the same story.
Yeah, I did also hear that this one is very similar to Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. in terms of like the romantic
Mhm.
yearning aspect.
And even the look of old Dracula,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
something that I noticed. And basically this is the love story. This is the love
Mhm.
angle. There's really no spookiness, no scariness. Like, this is not a scary vampire movie. This is 100% lovey-dovey, not rom-com, but romantic movie. And basically what happens is we see Dracula, young Dracula, as a prince. His love is, killed, and he wants to spend the next 400 years trying to find her reincarnated, because I guess if you're a pure enough soul, you get reincarnated. So he spends 400 years looking for her, and we fast forward to, we're following Christoph Waltz as, I believe, Van Helsing. They never really say his name, I don't think.
I looked it up on Google. It does list him as Van Helsing,
Okay.
but they don't mention it in the movie. So, yeah.
So he basically, he is Van Helsing, and he's looking for Dracula. Dracula's looking for his love, and we get them finally reuniting, and I'm sure you can guess where things go from there. Now, I have a few different notes on this to get into very quickly. The first thing, and I said this after the movie to you, it's just a personal preference thing. I prefer my Dracula to be spooky. I prefer, a little evilness to my Dracula. The charm and the sex appeal, that's always part of the story. It's always important, but I like him to be a little more sinister. And I think that this movie has maybe just a little bit of that with some scenes, especially, there's a scene midway through the movie where he's kind of charging up, I guess you could say. He's very old and needs to get young again.
Yeah.
If you know anything about vampires, you know where that's going. I'll say this now, head it back to you. Caleb Landry Jones. I think he's fine enough in this role. I think he's fine. But when I think Dracula, I'm thinking like one of the most iconic characters in all of fiction, one of the most classic stories ever. It kind of should be a big deal. Like, I feel like it should be a big deal. I feel like it needs to be a performance that knocks me out of my socks. And he's just fine. Like, he's okay. And that kind of summarizes my feelings of this movie, is that I know this was a theatrical release, but it feels like a straight to streaming movie. And I'm like, this is Dracula.
Yeah.
Dracula should be like a big event. And this doesn't feel like that to me. Maybe I'm just being a hater. I thought the movie was fun. I'm not, I gave it, I think, 2.5 or 2 stars. Which doesn't really sound like I enjoyed it that much, but that's my biggest thing, is this didn't feel like, call it something else. It didn't have to be Dracula, basically, because it doesn't feel like it lives up to the hype of a Dracula movie to me.
Okay. That is so interesting, because I think this is where we are kind of like opposite sides of the spectrum, because I've never seen any of the Dracula movies except for like Nosferatu, which you mentioned earlier. I thought Caleb Landry Jones was phenomenal in this. I thought he did so well with the material, which wasn't the best, I'm going to be honest. But I really found him captivating. I know I told you this before, but Caleb Landry Jones terrified me in Get Out. He was so good in that, and I kind of didn't want to watch anything else with him just because I found him so scary. And at first, I didn't even realize when I saw that reel that I mentioned that was him who was playing that character. He looked familiar,
wouldn't have known
but
if
I was
you
like,
didn't tell
oh my
me.
god, that's him.
Yeah.
But I found him so good in this role. I thought that kind of like the artistic things that he did with his character, just like line delivery and the laughter and everything. I thought it's kind of weird at times, but that's what I found. And it kind of pulled me in,
I think you're in the majority there, because I've seen some reviews of this movie, and most people do enjoy his performance. And I want to be clear, I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
And when I think Dracula, I needed to be big and in your face, and he was fine enough. And yeah, I think to move into the story itself again, the romance of it. One thing that the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think it applies to both Dracula and Wuthering Heights. Not to jump ahead, we'll focus on Dracula first, but I think the romance in both of these movies is a little thin. And in Dracula, we'll get to Wuthering Heights, but in Dracula, we don't really see, like, the only moments we get between them are just like when they're having sex in the beginning. And then she dies, and then 400 years go by, and he's yearning, he's pining, which is, that's fine enough.
Love the yearning,
They do a good job with that. He falls asleep on her coffin, like real yearner stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when he finds her, he just kind of follows her around. Like, she knows he's there, but he just kind of follows them around, doesn't speak.
At this carnival, which is such a dream date, wow.
Just standing behind you ominously.
It was so cute.
That's how I won her over, actually.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like that. That's the extent of their character or their relationship, and then they have sex again, and that's it.
Which,
so
good for
I
them.
thought it was a little thin. I do think it was better than the Wuthering Heights romance, but not. If you're making a romantic movie, I would have liked a little bit more romance between the leads.
I'm right there with you. Like I said, I like the yearning aspect of it, but I will admit I've seen clips of this before the movie came out, just from like, the film studio and everything. And I thought that there was going to be so much more, but I feel like I'd already seen a bulk of their love story in like the promo that they released for the movie. And so that was kind of a letdown, because I just, it was like the carnival scene and those meant the sex scenes that you mentioned, and that was it. And I thought that was a little bit disappointing, because I liked their dynamic. I thought they were really good together, but yeah.
Was the tension between them better or worse, or I guess more or less, than Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård? And Bill Skarsgård is a nasty looking guy in that, but there's some like really great performances between the two of them. In terms of like, she's kind of into it, and it's like, I'm just saying. So it's strange. And one thing I said this to you right after we finished watching Dracula. This is gonna sound mean. I promise. I thought the movie was fun. I can't say that enough. I thought this was fun. The worst thing a movie can be is boring, right? And this movie is not boring.
Like Wuthering Heights. No, I'm just kidding.
A little bit. But what I said after the movie is this made me really appreciate how hard it is to make a good movie, and it made me appreciate good movies, because this has the pieces of what could have been a really like solid film, and it just never really clicks. It never gets past being like a 2.5 star movie, in my opinion. And even like I never noticed this type of stuff, but even the editing of this film. Oh my God. And you mentioned the scene too.
I mentioned this. It bothered me so much. I mentioned it in my Letterboxd review. And I just want to say, I'm not super familiar with the director's work. I've seen bits and pieces of Lucy, which was years ago. And so I don't know if this is just like a stylistic choice or what, but in every single close-up shot on an actor or whatever is going on in the scene, I swear it was like every second the camera's just manually zooming in just a teensy bit over and over and over again, getting closer and closer on the actor's face. And it's just, again, I don't know if it's a stylistic choice, but it doesn't look good. I'm sorry. It looks like a post-production error, like they forgot something. And I usually can gloss over those things while watching a movie, but that's all that was grabbing my attention in those scenes, so.
And I think the way that I put it, and I don't remember, I don't know if this is an original thought or if I stole this from someone, but you don't notice good editing, but you notice bad editing.
Yeah.
And to like the point that you're making with the zoom ins, I don't know if this is related to it or not, but I've seen people talk about with Stranger Things, for example, they were posting on Twitter, why is the camera always moving now? In season 1 of Stranger Things, it would just sit there and you'd kind of build tension, and there's a different atmosphere in that shot. But now every single shot is the camera being zoomed in, it's or like moved around.
Right?
The dolly shot. And people kind of speculate it's the attention span thing. We need to constantly be seeing something happen. There has to be movement in the scene. And so maybe that's part of it. Maybe it was a stylistic choice. I don't know. Yeah. I also want to mention very quickly, the director's a piece of shit. We're aware of that. It is what it is. It's not, we're not overlooking it, but we watched the movie. We figured we might as well review it. And, there's awful people attached to basically every movie. So I just wanted to get that out there. As for the editing in this movie, one other thing that I wanted to mention, in the beginning when there's like a sword fight scene going on and they're all wearing like medieval armor and everything, the sound design is really weak. And that's another thing that like I don't particularly notice when I watch movies is like, you notice good sound design, but it was really, it felt very dull in this. They're wearing this big heavy armor and it sounds like it's plastic being hit and moved around. And maybe it's just because I just watched The King starring Timothee Chalamet and the sound design in that is actually pretty good. And the choreography is really strong in their fights, and just really let down by that. And it's not the selling point of this movie by any means. It's like a 20-second scene, but it starts off with that. And I was like, where are we going with this?
You hit him with the uh-oh.
Yeah. Do you have any other notes on Dracula?
I also mentioned this in my Letterboxd review, but I have to say it here as well.
Sure.
Some parts of the movie were a little bit cringy. Maria, no offense. I thought she was good for the most part. She looks so much like Dua Lipa. It's crazy. There was one scene where we can get into spoilers, right? Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
spoiler alert for Dracula 2026.
So they are about to kill her because she is a vampire, and they're trying to murder her. And there's just one part where she goes like vampire mode and her voice changes, which already was a little bit cheesy. But I swear to God, she does this very weird, like Naruto run. It was
arms behind her.
Arms behind. It's just, I remember laughing out loud at that. I couldn't take it seriously. I'm like, guys,
it's embarrassing.
It's not scary. It's funny. It's laughable.
It's embarrassing. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
That stuck out to me. But on the opposite side, I also forgot to mention this, Christoph Waltz. Again, with the material that he was given, I thought he was so great. So
he's funny. He provides some good comic relief.
Yep. Him and the scientists.
And the scientists are the funniest parts of this film. Quick couple notes before we move on to Wuthering Heights, just things off the top of my head. The perfume in this story, I don't know if this is from the actual original Dracula story or not, but leads to one of the more ridiculous montages. It's fun, but again, just personal preference, not what I want to see with my Dracula. I don't need him conducting a dance. I
do. No.
Yeah, well, and that's fair. Like that's completely valid. The gargoyles are that's a choice that was made in this film. Multiple CGI gargoyles that are revealed to be bald children
who just disappear, like walk off into the distance. We don't know who they are. Where
is
they
Dracula in the files? Is all I have to say. Moving on. Yeah, I thought Christoph Waltz was, kind of weird to see him in this movie, considering like the quality of everything around him. But it's fine enough. The costume design was good. Sorry, I just peeked at your notes trying.
He's stealing.
I am. I'm stealing her whole flow. Costume design's fine. There's some decent looking sets.
I thought it was pretty. Sorry,
it was a pretty looking movie. I was gonna say just not my cup of tea overall.
Yeah. Costume design, we will talk about that. At least I will mention it for Wuthering Heights. So, but this one I thought it was just a pretty movie. Gargoyles aside, and all the blood and everything aside, thought it was pretty.
All the blood. Last note that I have. The black outfit that Dracula is wearing at the end of the movie when there's a siege on the castle, I really enjoyed that look.
Yes, loved it. Loved the all. So
before we move on to Wuthering Heights, we're going to start trying to do this in our reviews. What did you give Dracula on Letterboxd?
I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars.
I gave it 2.
Nice.
All right, moving in to Wuthering Heights.
Oh my God.
Now, I want to start here by just giving some context. Neither one of us has read the book. Not even very familiar with the book prior to seeing the movie. I think we've both looked a little bit more into what the story is now. I went into this movie genuinely with an open mind. I was like, let me check it out. I know people don't like the director.
Yeah.
I know people were upset about Jacob Elordi being cast because of the race of the character in the story. Now, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit in our review. When I saw that Jacob Elordi was cast in this role, now I like Jacob, so I was fine with it. And I had heard or seen online that, his race in the story, Heathcliff, his race is ambiguous. They say dark skin, but that could mean olive skin. It could mean Italian. It could mean Middle Eastern.
I guess there was also a mention of like Romani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like maybe it could work. When you watch this movie, and again, neither one of us have read the book, so I can't tell you for sure. But when you watch this movie, this story works. The story doesn't work if story doesn't work if Heathcliff is white. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It fundamentally is a completely different story that makes no sense and is stupid. I'm sorry. I just have to say it. It's stupid.
Annoying. It had us annoyed at the end.
It removes the entire conflict of the story. And I like I said, entering this movie, I was open-minded to the decision. Watching it, I'm like, this is a ridiculous decision. And Jacob's fine in the movie. He's probably the best performance. Yeah. It's not like amazing or anything, but he's probably the best part of it.
Him and the actress who plays Isabel, whose name I'm blanking on. But yeah, I thought she was great too. But yeah.
Yeah, and so
Alison Oliver,
yeah, she was good too. And so going into this movie, both of us had reasonable hopes. I wouldn't say high hopes, but like, what were you thinking before we saw this?
Pretty much what you just said. I was excited about it. With the promo leading up and everything, I thought it was gonna be more of like a fun kind of spicier movie for Valentine's Day. That's what I was going into, and I thought it was gonna be. I guess I thought I was gonna be taken away by the love story aspect of it. Again, I didn't know much about the story going into the movie, but based off of the trailer and everything, you know, using Charlie's songs. I thought it was going to be more romantic, more dreamy, more, you know, I can kind of be like, just forget about life while watching it, you know, and just kind of get engrossed into the story. So, yeah.
For sure. And I try not to judge a movie by its marketing. Like, I want to say that and be clear that, like, I realize that more often than not, the people who create the movie don't have much control over the way that it's marketed. With that being said, I think it's important, you know, just to give that context. We both kind of went into this expecting it to be more of a straightforward romance, because that, like, star-crossed lovers type of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Not at all what the original story is, now that I understand. Like, that's just not what Wuthering Heights is.
It's almost like a tragedy. Yeah.
It's very much a tragedy, and both the characters are very dark in their own way. And I think this movie, it's not just the marketing. I think this movie, and we, you know, I don't know too much about the director, but I have heard that, you know, she kind of has a very privileged upper class view of this story, and it shows in the movie that we receive, because I looked at you at one point in this movie and I'm like, are we supposed to like these characters? Because they are deeply unlikable. But the movie, I'm like, I know the original story, that's how it works in the original story, but this movie portrays it as if you're supposed to be rooting for them to be together, and I couldn't care less.
No, I can I jump toward the ending?
Sure.
Yeah, when
spoiler alert. We're going to be spoiling Wuthering Heights.
When Kathy dies and Heathcliff is there, you know, hugging her and everything. It is a sad scene, yes, but again, when the movie ended, I felt more annoyed. I wasn't, and he knows this about me. I get very emotional during movies. I will cry. I will feel, you know, everything. But this, I didn't really care about them. I was just annoyed by them throughout most of the movie. So
at the end of this movie, I looked over to you and I couldn't, like, see your face. And so I was like, are you crying? And you go, no, I'm mad.
There we go. That sums up my thoughts on this movie. It's such a shame because I wanted to cry, you know.
I was down to get emotional, right? And like I want to quickly recap Wuthering Heights very quickly, because we've already spoiled it, and I just want to share. So, you know, let's get into this movie, because again, I think the title of this video is going to be Dracula versus Wuthering Heights, which was worse. Wuthering Heights was worse. Go see Dracula if you want a good time.
Seriously, and I will say, I was not expecting that. I thought I was going to like Wuthering Heights so much more than Dracula, and now I'm like, nope, never mind.
I thought I was going to walk away from Wuthering Heights being like, wow, everyone said this was going to suck. Yes. It was actually kind of fun. No.
No.
No. I also want to say very quickly, just in case, if anyone did like this movie, that's your opinion. That's fine. That's valid. I'm not here to trash you or to tell you not to enjoy it.
Right.
We're just giving our opinion, and we're going to have some fun with it. So we missed the opening scene of this movie, which is apparently someone being executed and getting a boner.
Yep.
So we missed that.
Oh.
But we walk into Kathy and Heathcliff being introduced as kids. We see that Heathcliff is an orphaned boy, right? We assume orphaned.
Yes.
Kathy's father decides to take him in. We immediately get a very weird line of Kathy naming Heathcliff after her dead brother. Obviously, knowing where the story is going to go, a bit weird to name your boy toy after your dead brother, but they're kids. It's fine, is what it is. And I think immediately, even with just that scene itself, we kind of see their bond and their dynamic right away, which is that Heathcliff is this kind of like, you know, dumb, lost brute of a man, whereas Kathy is kind of manipulative, controlling. She views him literally as like a toy, like I mentioned. Like he is an object to her that she gets to control and do whatever she wants with. And that continues to when they become adults. And long story short, she decides to get married to the rich man next door. And Heathcliff is obviously upset by that. And she just kind of expects him to be all right with that and not get married himself, because when he leaves, she's all upset and pressed about that. And she's acting all sad in her mansion.
Real quick, the timing of it. It's also what she said. She didn't know that he was listening to her when she said that marrying him would degrade her.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you expect for him to do if he hears that?
Exactly. Yeah. She's having a private conversation with Nell, who is kind of portrayed as like the bad person in this film, which I'm team Nelly. Nelly. I didn't think she did anything wrong. And the scene that you're referring to is there. She's deciding, Margot Robbie is deciding whether or not to marry the rich man next door. And she tells Nell that, you know, she's in love with Heathcliff, but marrying him would degrade her. And I like it's not really a scene where it's not her just being emotional and dramatic in the moment. She genuinely feels that way.
She does, yeah.
And so again, I'm like, am I supposed to like this person?
Mhm.
That's a bad thing to say about someone.
And I know that she mentions like 2 beats later that she loves him. She loves Heathcliff. But it's bad timing on her part because he kind of left after she said she said that. So,
and still, it's like, okay, well, you just view him as an object in my eyes.
Right.
And so that's where so Heathcliff returns a few years later, and he's rich now. We don't know how he got his money. It's implied that maybe he didn't get it in the right way. Maybe he stole it. Who knows? And then, they kind of rekindle, and we get another montage of just sex. And there's no actual chemistry between these characters other than they're both physically attractive, which it is what it is. But this is kind of the problem with the movie for me, is that the characters sucked, in my opinion. I didn't root for them. I didn't even want to see them get together. I think they're all dumb. They're selfish. They were unlikable. And the original story is supposed to be that way. But I would have preferred that we got that, because this movie doesn't commit to that. It kind of halfway commits to that while still trying to be like a Valentine's Day lovey-dovey movie. And when we get to that end scene, like you mentioned, which skipping really far ahead, Kathy is pregnant. She ends up, the baby dies inside of her and ends up killing her along the way. We get this scene between Heathcliff and Kathy's dead body, where it flashbacks to them as kids sleeping together. And it's like this really, like, I genuinely felt a little emotional watching it, but at the same time, it made me mad, because I'm like, this movie didn't earn this. This is you showed me 2 hours of bullshit, and then you're going to try and tug on my heartstrings by showing me little kids and a dead person, right? Like, you did not earn that.
No. So you really like the movie.
Clearly, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have any other notes, or do you want me to keep going through?
I had a thought and it just popped out of my head. So you can keep going, and if I remember it, I will jump in.
Yeah, so backing up, because obviously, that's the end of the movie right there. Kathy, right? Like, we mentioned Titanic at the beginning of this review, and I think it's a good comparison, because think of Rose in that movie, and people call her selfish and self-centered and all these different things. Narcissistic. Like, Kathy is every single one of those. Whereas I think Rose is actually none of those, which we'll save that for another video. But like, she is so selfish, and every single problem that happens in her life is her own fault. And sure, she had an abusive father, and that's sad, and I have sympathy for that. But like, girl, you could have been with Jacob. If you want Jacob so bad, there's nothing stopping you. And that's why the race swap is just, it ruins this film, because it makes no sense for them not to be together.
You and I talked about it after the movie too. It's very frustrating, because when Jacob comes back, when Heathcliff comes back, he has money. Like you said, we don't know how he got it, but he has money. So it's like, girl, if you want a divorce so bad, you can get a divorce. It might stain your reputation or your name or whatever happened back in those days, but he has money. So it's not like, you have that safety net either way. So, and poor Linton, he deserved better. I will say that.
Linton is the husband.
Yeah, I felt so bad for him, because it's just, he's giving her everything, and I know she's not in love with him, but still, it's hard to watch, and it just builds upon that whole I'm getting annoyed with them theme throughout this movie.
She's a bad person. She's just a bad person. And I think the most enjoyable part of this film, and we'll get into, like, the cinematography is really good, the set design's good, great album, the soundtrack, we'll get into that. But like, I think what I enjoyed the most is when we fast forward a couple years and Heathcliff has returned, he's wealthy, and there's that dinner scene where they're all there together, and he's, clearly Kathy's a little flustered by his return, and he's kind of leaning into that. Wish we saw more of that. That doesn't last very long, and it's the most interesting part of the movie to me. We don't get more of that. And then unfortunately, as the movie goes on, Heathcliff also becomes pretty unlikable too, to where I'm like, they drag Isabella into their, spiteful view that they're having, and he's essentially, like, he's abusing her, but it's very what's the word? It's toned down from the novel. Like, she's more complicit in this, like, she is consenting to it. And that, I will say, that's the best scene in the movie, when he's telling her, like, all the horrible things he's gonna do. And he's like, do you want me to stop? And she says no. Like, that's the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. But still, I'm like, well, now I don't like Heathcliff either. I don't like any of these characters. And I don't need to like the characters in a movie. I love Marty Supreme, for example. He's a little shithead, right? Like, I don't need to like them, but when it's a romance story, I kind of have to buy the romance.
That's the thing. I just, I just couldn't connect with them. I don't know. I've been seeing so many, and again, no disrespect to anyone who liked the movie, but I keep seeing so many reels and videos about people just sobbing after the movie, and I feel like I'm in a whole nother world. And I don't want to sound like a pick me, you know, art is subjective. Everyone has different opinions, but I'm just like, I wish I felt like that after the movie, but
I think the reason why neither one of us felt that way, and I get, like, just to be fair, I get the point of the film is that it's regret, it's a tragedy, right? Like, they should have been together. It's so obvious that they should have been together that when she dies, that's what makes it tragic. I get that. But I think one of the things that, you know, the reason why it was frustrating is because it was so unforced. Like, it was 100% her own fault. After, you know, so Heathcliff returns, they're hooking up for a while, and then she tells him, like, I can't see you anymore. I'm choosing to be with my husband who I don't love, because no reason. That's just why she chooses to do that. And then so Heathcliff is like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get married to someone else. And she's devastated. And it's like, girl, you can't have both. Like, you can't have.
She was literally like tugging Isabella, telling her, like, come on.
You can't.
Go hit him up.
You can't expect him not to get with anybody. And so we get this whole, like, even her dying at the end. I'm not sure exactly how much time goes by, but we basically get, like, the Twilight Bella scene in New Moon, where she's just sitting in that damn room, all upset that Heathcliff is getting married to someone else when it's entirely her fault.
The only thing missing is the spinning camera.
That's what I was about to say. Because I don't know how much time went by, but if we had done it Twilight style, I could have seen the seasons go.
Can I really quickly mention something? Something that I was getting bothered by was with the time aspect that you just mentioned. We don't know how much time is going by. All I kept thinking about was, okay, they keep mentioning she's pregnant. Yeah. You do not see her pregnant.
Oh, yeah, so it couldn't have been that much time.
And that just made everything so confusing.
Yeah. And well, so, like, I'm not gonna just maybe this is more explained in the book. I'm not just gonna, like, blame her, but, like, it seems like she's not eating. She's sitting in her room doing nothing, and then the baby dies. And I think I would assume that it's kind of her own fault for not taking care of herself.
It was
not
like
eating
sepsis or something. Yeah.
Well, but like, it's kind of like, okay, so you chose not to be with this man, then you're gonna. This is how you behave. It's so annoying. It's annoying. It's like
annoying,
it's a very unlikable character, and if you were going to make it so unlikable, I think this is the problem. I don't think the director, from what I understand, fully understands that the characters are unlikable. I kind of think that she just straight up thought this was a straightforward romance story of regret and tragedy.
Yeah.
And the characters, to me, you know, I'd be interested to talk to someone who loved this movie, actually, and figure out what they loved about it, because I don't get the romance. I really don't.
Me neither.
I think they're supposed to be unlikable, and I would have preferred to see a darker film covering those topics.
Yeah. I will say there are some scenes that really got me, in terms of, like, you know, the one where he says he's like a dog, he'll follow her till the end of the world. That got me. The barn scene that everyone's talking about got me, and the shed and everything. It's those moments where it's like, okay, I see something. There's like an inkling of something here, but then it just dies out, you know?
Yeah, and I can't believe we haven't mentioned this moment, but the first time when Jacob Elordi takes off his shirt,
oh my God,
someone in our theater literally started smacking their seat. So that was like the best part of the movie. That
was that was incredible. They must have loved the movie. I want to talk to them.
They were hooting and hollering. So that's basically all my takes on the movie. I think I gave it, let me see what I gave it, and then I want to let you talk about Charlie XCX and the soundtrack here. So while I pull up my score, go ahead and tell us what you loved about the soundtrack.
Oh my gosh, can I actually talk about, like, pros that I found in the movie overall? Okay. So the soundtrack is one of them, but I'm going to start off by saying, and you mentioned this briefly before, such a beautiful movie. I know parts of it was very, like, inspired by Gone with the Wind, I believe, that older movie from the 40s or 30s.
I didn't know that.
Because I think the one scene where we see Heathcliff riding off into the sunset, quite literally, with the beautiful sky. Cool. It's I believe, if I remember correctly, that was done in Gone with the Wind, and it looks very similar. Gorgeous. I loved how claustrophobic Wuthering Heights felt, like their house and everything, with the dark colors and the fog, and they did such a great job with that, I thought. And then on to Charlie XCX, the album that she made for this movie. I saw someone tweet, and I'm forgetting who it was and, like, the exact wording, but they were like, can we just pretend that the movie was, like, kind of inspired by the album? But I love this album so much. I am a Charlie XCX fan, so I might be a little biased, but I think it's a beautiful album. I thought that it worked. I wanted, honestly, more of it in the movie. I believe they featured Chains of Love, House. I think I'm going to die in this house, which is now a meme. They had that. They had Open Up, which is a very beautiful, kind of like almost atmospheric track in the movie as well. But I wanted more. I could have used more. And I've just been listening to it a lot. I've had my Reminder on repeat, Dying for You, Always Everywhere, and Chains of Love, which was the first single that came out. So yeah, please go listen to this album. If you didn't like the movie, go listen to the album because it's so good. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought the Charlie XCX soundtrack was a strength of this film. We mentioned the cinematography. I really love the colors in this. It's a vibrant film, which also kind of like clashes with what the story is probably supposed to be. Like, you know what? This is probably a good example. The vibe of the marketing gave me Great Gatsby. And it's not Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
It's not that type of story.
Yeah.
And yeah, like even in that trailer, like the Charlie XCX song, whichever song that is in the trailer, it's good. Like it hooked me. I was like, I think this movie could be fun.
Fun fact, that actually is not on the album.
Oh.
That is on
I don't know anything.
That is on the Brat remix album.
Okay.
It's called Everything is Romantic featuring Caroline Polachek.
Well, there we go. Thank you for correcting me there.
They should have added it, honestly.
Yeah, I think it made the trailer work really well. And so just really quickly, like Margot Robbie, she's fine in this. She's fine. People have mentioned her age. She's much older than Jacob Elordi. I think she's only supposed to be like 18 or 20 in the book. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me.
Me neither.
It was fine. Jacob's fine. Probably miscast, but I don't think that means it was a bad performance. I just think the story kind of makes more sense if he's a person of color. Outside of that, like you mentioned, the actress who plays Isabella, she was fine. Like there's not that many characters in this. It's a very contained movie. It's over 2 hours long, which I think also kind of dragged a bit.
Yeah.
And I gave it 1.5 stars.
You gave it 1.5.
And as I said earlier, this made me appreciate good movies because in my review I wrote it's great cinematography, classic story, good enough performances. How did this suck? Like, how is this so bad?
Yeah.
What did you give it on Letterboxd?
I gave it 2 out of 5.
2 stars.
2 stars. Yeah. Honestly, a huge part is Charlie XCX.
That's half a star alone. So
no, 1 star. I would
a full
say.
star.
A full star.
So yeah.
But, yeah, man. Oh, can I talk about one more thing really quickly?
Go ahead.
It might just go off on a tangent,
no, go ahead.
But I remember in early days, when the first few trailers came out, someone, again, I'm bringing up Twitter, but someone on Twitter came up with this phenomenal theory because we kept seeing Margot Robbie as Kathy holding that little doll that we find out later on Isabella gave to her as like a little, oh, you're my friend, here you go, kind of gift.
They did her dirty, by the way.
They did. I remember someone saying, what if this is all in Kathy's imagination? What if she's just like playing with these dolls and she's kind of making up a story in her head? And I remember seeing this scene in the movie and it made me think about the theory again. We see her holding this ginormous strawberry. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's a big strawberry.
Yeah,
I wish that was me.
Yeah. In the summertime.
Yeah.
It's like in the party montage. And I remember someone mentioning that because it was part of the early onset promo and saying, well, this clearly has to be, in her head, because why is this strawberry so big? It's like a child's mind.
Why is this strawberry so big?
Right. But I'm like, I wish they kind of leaned into that. Imagine that movie. I would have loved that, I think.
I guess I'd have to see it play out.
Yeah.
I'd have to see it play out because I'm not a fan of like the reveal of like, oh, it was all a dream or whatever. But if it's like interwoven throughout, I don't even know if that's a word, what I just said.
I think
if it's like mixed, scattered in throughout, that could have been interesting. But then it kind of comes back to like a similar problem that I mentioned with Dracula to a even more degree here. Did it have to be called Wuthering Heights? Go make an original movie. If you want to tell a story that's not an adaptation of the story you're adapting, call it something else. But that's not how Hollywood works.
It's almost like sticking with the IP to get.
Could have made an original movie, very similar themes, called it something else. But you got to get the IP. And so I don't know if this movie's performing well. I don't know if it is or not.
I read recently that I think it has amassed 100 million so far. So it's doing good. Yeah. It's doing good.
And listen, even though I thought the movie sucked, I want movies to succeed. So I'm happy for that. And if you enjoyed the movie, good for you. Jen, I'm not even saying that in a backhanded way.
Please tell us what you loved about it in the comments, please.
We would love to know. Are there any other notes on Wuthering Heights or Dracula?
No. Go see Dracula. Again, if you're torn between the two. Go see Dracula.
Or, pop on Jason X on Tubi. So
do that.
you'd have a better time with that. But
Yes.
with all that being said, I think that's going to do it for this
Mhm.
episode. We're about to go see Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. We're very
Can't
excited.
wait.
Stay tuned. We might end up reviewing that one as well. Please hit subscribe, drop a like, leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.